I despise making strawberry cake, and I do not know how to make a good strawberry cake from scratch. I made a strawberry cake for my daughter's birthday a few weeks ago, but I used a strawberry boxed cake mix. This smells so good. It smells like strawberries over here.
Yep, it does smell like strawberries.
Oh my goodness.
That smells good.
There's absolutely nothing wrong with using a box cake mix. I do it all the time. In fact, I love that a box cake mix is basically fail-proof. But I have to admit that I prefer the taste and texture of a real from-scratch cake. And I've been searching high and low for years for the right recipe to add to my recipe box. But it is about time that I try to create a strawberry cake from scratch. Do you think I can do it?
Yeah.
Let's find out. For whatever reason, I cannot figure out how to make a delicious, moist, fluffy strawberry cake. But for whatever reason, my husband's coworker that joined us for my kid's birthday party decided to ask me to make a cake for his daughter's first birthday. And guess what he asked for? A vanilla cake. I'm serious. He did. He asked for a vanilla cake, but he wants that to be the smash cake. The strawberry cake, on the other hand, that he wants is going to be to serve to his guests. And I was like, oh, another strawberry cake request. And I despise making cakes for people with box cake mix. I know, I'm sorry if that sounds offensive, but when I make cake for other people, I prefer for it to be from scratch. Only because I kind of feel like from scratch cake recipes just taste so much better. No matter how good you doctor up a cake, it just does not taste the same as a scratch baked cake. It just doesn't. So I went on a hunt for another recipe, and there is quite a bit of recipes of strawberry cake on Pinterest, but none of them screamed out to me. So what I did was I found a from scratch pink velvet cake, and I thought maybe I could turn this into a strawberry cake that would probably have as much flavor as a boxed cake mix, but will have the from scratch texture. So I'm gonna make a double recipe because my husband wants to taste it, because he wants to know exactly how this cake is gonna taste prior to us taking it. So yes, this cake is from Ice Cream for Buttercream. We are going to try this out together, and I am going to let you know if this works, if we can transform this pink velvet cake into a strawberry cake, if it's actually going to taste like strawberry and it's going to have the right texture. I am going to be tweaking it a little bit though. Like, I'm not going to be following the recipe verbatim. I've gotten pretty good about tweaking cakes. I know what you can and what you cannot swap out for. So we're gonna try something new. To get started, we need to preheat the oven to 325 degrees Fahrenheit. It also says to grease and flour 2 8-inch round cake pans. I don't grease my pans until right before I put them into the oven because I use the butter wrappers to line my cake pans. I just feel like it's easier that way. So let's just go ahead and get started with the recipe. It says to add 1 cup of milk to a measuring cup and add in 1 tablespoon of lemon juice and stir and set aside. Okay, well, basically what she is making is buttermilk. So instead of using milk and lemon juice, I'm going to be using powdered buttermilk. This is my favorite brand. It actually happened on an accident, and at first I was like, what am I going to do with this? This is not going to work, but actually this works in every single recipe I've ever tried it in, and it's amazing. Seriously, good stuff. You do have to keep this refrigerated, but it lasts forever. Forever. I've had this for a few months now, and it says that the expiration date isn't until 2028. That's how long this will last you. Says in a large mixing bowl, whisk together the flour, the sugar, the baking soda, baking powder, and the salt. Okay, so in another bowl it says to add the milk and lemon juice mixture, which I'm just using the buttermilk that I made. And then it says to add another 1/2 cup of regular plain milk, the vinegar, 1 tablespoon of oil. Your food coloring. Instead of egg whites, I'm just going to use a carton of cage-free 100% liquid egg whites, not the egg substitute, actual egg whites. 3/4 of a cup is 4 eggs. And then for the other 2 eggs, we need 1/3 of a cup. Wow, there's a lot of steps. It's already using 2 bowls. Also, I forgot to mention, I just started doing this, but in all of my cake mixes, I always add in a couple of tablespoons of jello pudding mix. Not jello, just jello pudding. I'm going to use vanilla, and also cheesecake is really good in there too, but today I'm just going to use vanilla. So I'm just going to add 2 tablespoons in there. So in my standing mixer, it says to make sure that the butter is almost room temperature, but not very warm.
Add the butter in chunks slowly to the dry ingredients. If using a stand mixer, just turn on the mixer on low and leave it on while the butter chunks are added a bit at a time, or just use a hand mixer. Once all the butter has been added, turn the mixer up to medium-high and mix until the flour is coated with the butter and mixture is crumbly. It will have a sand-like texture. Stop mixing once the flour is all coated. Mixing too long will form the mixture into a paste.
Did you get all that? We're going to use a cup of imperial margarine because I can't use butter in my oven. All of the oil separates and it just sticks right on top of the cake, and the cake is extremely dry. So I use margarine because it's more oil based and the oil just mixes better with the cake mixture or the batter. So it is a 1-to-1 ratio, whatever butter you're using. If you're switching over to imperial or margarine, it's the same ratio, 1 cup to 1 cup. Room temperature, it's very soft. Why didn't we just put this into the mixing bowl to begin with? Okay, I'm gonna assume that this means a sandy texture. So I'm gonna stop right here because she said that if you mix it too long, it'll turn into a paste. It says pour about 1/3 of the liquid mixture into the flour and the butter mixture. Mix on medium just until combined, about 15 to 20 seconds. 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Okay, it says pour last of the liquid mixture in and mix again until well combined. Be careful not to overmix. Mixing the batter for several minutes is too long. Once all of the ingredients are incorporated, well, stop mixing. Okay. The batter is very, very thin. Oh, I hope this works out. If it doesn't, I have to go get myself a box cake mix. I'm gonna do 1 tablespoon of this baking vanilla, or not 1 tablespoon, 1 teaspoon, and a teaspoon of this strawberry extract. Also, I don't think that the color is pink enough, so I'm gonna add in 3 more drops. Okay, so it doesn't say anything about why the cake batter is so thin. Pioneer Woman's chocolate cake mix is supposed to be really runny like this, but I never could bake it that runny, so I would add less liquids. So if this doesn't work out, I'm gonna try the recipe again with only a cup of buttermilk. But I'm also gonna be adding in some freeze-dried strawberry fruit crisp from Great Value. This is a 1 ounce bag, and I'm gonna put the whole entire bag in there. And they're sliced strawberries. To prepare my pans, I am going to use a combination of oil, flour, and my butter wrappers. So first thing, what I like to do is I like to coat my pans with oil. And then I like to add my wrapper right in the center. If you wanted to get full coverage, you could use parchment paper, or you could use two of your butter wrappers if you have that many, but I don't have that many right now. And then for the leftover areas, I am going to just add a little bit of flour, and also spray the sides of your pans too. I know we're not usually taught to do it that way, but I still do. You don't need a lot of flour because you're just gonna get the areas where the parchment paper isn't sitting. So I just need to go around by gently tapping and make sure that the crease is all coated with that flour. And this is how your cake pans should look, fully coated with the flour so that it's easy for your cake to come out. And this is what my cake batter is looking like. It's very chunky, has lots of strawberries in there. Fingers crossed that it comes out well. But it says to divide it with 2 pans. At this point, if the cake is messed up, it's already messed up, so I'm just gonna go with it. Okay, and then also what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna spray 2 flour nails with some oil and put that right in the center of my cake. I'm hoping this is what's gonna save me, because this is gonna act like a heat core and it's going to assist the cake baking in the center to keep it from sinking, since it does look like it's gonna be a little heavy. Okay, so it says to bake it at 325 degrees for approximately 45 to 55 minutes. Okay, I'm not trying to get too excited here. I know you probably can't see it very well, but they've been in the oven for about 5 minutes and they already look like they're starting to bake up on the sides. And all of the strawberries are kind of migrating towards the center, but at least they look like they're rising and they're doing something. Can you see that? They're not sinking. Oh, I hope that this goes well. I really do. Okay, let's take a look. Okay, so they did crack on the top, but that's okay. You can work with that. They do feel firm, but they also still feel a little soft. Let's check it with a toothpick. Alrighty. Moment of truth. Looks done. It's just pretty soft. So that's a good sign. Looks done to me. They look done. Okay, they smell so good. They smell like strawberry, so I'm confident that they're gonna taste good. I know the top looks a little scary. Like I said, all of the strawberries decided to migrate towards the middle, but I'm confident that these are gonna be good, and I can't wait to see what they look like when I take them out of the pan. But before I do that, I'm gonna go ahead and let them cool off, and while I'm doing that, I'm gonna prepare my second batch. Okay, so quickly, before I put you guys on cruise control and let you watch me do my thing, I just want to mention something real quick. There was a little bit of a confusion on this recipe. So when I get prepared and I start reading all of the ingredients, it says to use 1.5 cups of milk. I didn't realize that that milk was going to be split. So when I made my buttermilk, I used a full 1.5 cups of buttermilk plus another 1/2 cup of milk. So it was just way too much liquids. So in this recipe that I'm doing now, I did cut it back to the amount of liquids that she suggested, but in the right order. The only thing I would say is that it still was pretty runny, but it still worked out pretty good. And like I said, Pioneer Woman's chocolate cake batter is also very runny, but I had to play around with how much liquids I put in my cake batter because I am working on propane. But that heating core, that little nail that I put in the center of my cake, really does help, especially if you're working on propane. It'll keep your cake from sinking. So don't skip that part. Also, I do think that adding the pudding mix in there also helped thicken it up a little bit, and it gave it a really good texture.
Hello, easy, how you do? Yeah, I've been holding out for you. Goodbye, gray sky, come back blue. Tell me all when I found love. You were waiting there for me when I found love. It was there for all.
Okay, my cakes have been cooling for about 10 minutes now. So I'm gonna go ahead and take them out of the pan. See how satisfying this is. Still pretty hot. They look beautiful. Okay, let's take the wrapper off. Look at that reveal. It looks so pretty. Take that out. Wow, that looks really pretty. Oh, thank goodness. I always stress out in this part because when I first started baking, this was the hardest part for me, was getting the cake out of the pan. A lot of times it's because I was really impatient and I couldn't wait for the cakes to cool long enough to handle, or I wasn't preparing the pan well enough. But once I was able to get to calm down and accept baking as the part of the process of cake decorating, I was able to start doing better, and now I waste less and less cake. So I'm just gonna go ahead and put the other cakes in the oven and we shall see which ones we like best. These look delicious. Just by touching them, I could tell that the texture of the cake is gonna be perfect. So we shall see.
When I found love, it was there for all to see. Been searching low and high for you, never certain but always true. When I found love, yeah, you found it too. Sunlight pictures in my mind.
Yes, babe. Yes. I think I did it. Look at how pretty that is. Look at how pretty that is. It looks like a real strawberry cake. Okay, so the way that I can tell that it's done is that when I press on it, it has give to it. It doesn't spring back. I find, me personally, that when it springs back, it's overbaked. When it has just a little bit of a give, that's when you pull it out, because it's going to finish baking in the pan as it's cooling. So there's no need for you to bake the shit out of it. Let it continue baking as it's cooling and it will be moist and perfectly cooked. But all I'm going to do now is I'm just going to wrap them in saran wrap, and then I'm going to put them in the freezer because I want to do it while it's warm to lock in all of the moisture. And personally, I think cakes taste so much better when they've been sitting for a couple of days, rather as fresh. I feel like the flavor of the cake hasn't developed yet. So I put them in the freezer overnight, sometimes up to 3 days, depending on what my schedule looks like. And then I will decorate them and they will be good for up to a week or so. I guess that's it for today. I will see you guys back here for the taste testing in a couple of days. Okay, so it's been a few days and I'm getting ready to assemble these cakes. And I'm very, very sorry if it's a little noisy in here. It's kind of chaotic because we're in the middle of switching our kids' rooms. And so the whole entire family is here. But I wanted to show you guys the cake and I wanted to taste test it. I already cut one. It's still semi-frozen, but I think the other one's a little bit more thawed out. Once you cut the top layer off, the layer underneath looks more like a strawberry cake, and all the strawberries are incorporated all throughout the cake. But I want to cut this one too, and we want to give this a little bit of a taste test. I did taste the top part of it when I cut that one off, and it had really good strong strawberry flavor. But I want to know how it's going to taste in the cake itself. And I'm not really that great of a carver, so yeah, see, this cake looks really good. Even though that I had a little bit of a hard time with it, the inside of the cake looks phenomenal. And the crumb is still very moist. You can see the glistening of the cake. I don't know if you could pick that up on camera, but the cake is glistening. That's from the sugars inside the cake. So I'm confident that this cake is going to taste really good. Since I'm not using this one, let's go ahead and taste this one. So I was taking it out of the pan, it broke. And that's what the inside of this cake looks. So basically it looks the same. This one's just a little bit darker than this one. This one's a little bit lighter. But let's go ahead and taste it. Emily, you want to taste some strawberry cake?
Sure.
Come here. Tastes like strawberry cake. What do you think?
Mm-hmm.
You like it?
Yeah.
Really good, huh?
Yeah.
So I don't think I'm going to use, I think I'm going to use my original cake that I made, the first batch, because it actually came out really good and I like how thick the layers are. But I'm going to combine it with that other layer to make it just a little bit taller. But yeah, this pink velvet cake turned into a really nice strawberry cake. The only thing that I had to do to convert it was to add strawberry extract and freeze-dried strawberries. You could probably use like a strawberry puree too. I choose not to use the puree because it weighs down the cake. And with my luck, it would have been, it would have either sank in the middle or it would have been really gummy. The texture would have been off. It wouldn't have been fluffy. So I'm happy with the decision that I made. If you guys want to know the recipe in detail, I will link the pink velvet down in the recipe, and I'll also put my tweaks in there too for you guys. Other than that, it's a really good cake. All right, guys, well, thank you for hanging out with me today. Hopefully this inspired you to get to baking. All right, guys, I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye.
You can't get one to taste it?
No. You want to try it?
What is it?
Strawberry. I wish I would have found this recipe when I was making your cake, because that would have tasted so much better than the strawberry one that I made. Well, you live and learn.